Hi, Summer Tot Hill here, and every week on my Instagram stories, I host a Q&A with my followers. What you're about to hear is a compilation of some of those answers. All right, let's get into it. Why do some people not want to identify as feminists even though they may have feminist values and reap the benefits of feminism? Feminism is and always kind of has been a dirty word. It's a concept with a negative reputation despite being nothing but benevolent in what it's trying to achieve. This is deliberate. Men and the patriarchy have deliberately positioned feminism as a bad thing, as an evil thing, as a thing that makes women undesirable. And of course, there's nothing worse that you can be in a patriarchy than undesirable to men. So patriarchy has positioned women as worth nothing if they are not desired by or not liked by men. So when you put that together, women are worthless if men don't like them. Feminism makes men not like you. But there's a secret thread linking all of that together, which is that feminism liberates women from being in default service to men. Historically, it is in men's material interests to turn women away from feminism so that those women don't learn to think twice before serving those men who, for the most part, did nothing to earn or deserve being served. So the best way to turn women away from feminism is to distort its perception in society. So then you have to frame feminism as something that is malevolent and dangerous, something completely opposite than what it is. A researcher called Christina Scharf in 2012 found that young women in the UK and Germany associated the word feminism with lesbianism, man-hating, and not being feminine enough. And isn't it interesting that those things are all assumed to be bad things by default? But there's nothing inherently bad about being a lesbian. It's just that you don't position men as the center of your universe, and you also don't put yourself in the position of wife to men. Now, why would men want us to think that that was bad? And there's also nothing bad about being unfeminine. The patriarchy created the concept of femininity in the first place. And isn't it a fun coincidence that femininity is aligned with sacrifice and servitude and silence? And as for being a man-hater, most women and feminists don't hate men, despite the patriarchy as a system deserving a lot of hate. So you can see how a lot of criticism of feminism comes back to the fact that feminists simply refuse to center men. So let's talk about that. If you tuned into my Q&A, I think 2 weeks ago, you would have seen that I answered a question about how to decenter men, which is basically living a life that does not revolve around securing the attention of and serving men. This is a term coined by Charlie's Toolbox. If you want to know more, you can go check out the account. Also, in last week's Q&A, we talked about the concept of internalized misogyny, which is when women apply the same misogynistic standards to other women that they themselves are oppressed by and would benefit from being free from. So the conditioning to center men and also internalized misogyny can really be huge factors in a woman not wanting to identify as a feminist or think feminism is even for her. But feminism is the only political movement that fundamentally believes in the humanity of men and in their capacity to be better. When feminism achieves its aims, everybody benefits, right? You've got maternal and infant mortality rates improve, rates of violence go down, workplace rights and protections are strengthened, public spaces are safer for everybody, child protection and child safeguarding are strengthened. National GDP goes up. If we're going to care about anything, let's care about money, I guess. That's why, to answer part of the original question, people who don't identify as feminists still reap the benefits of feminism. Women who go on TikTok as tradwives saying that women need to return to a traditional role wouldn't even be allowed to have that platform or express that opinion or even bank the money that they're earning off the TikTok Creator Fund without the goals and achievements of feminism. So we can explain to women who don't want to get on board with feminism that feminism will actually make their life better, mostly because they get to have more orgasms. Continuing on the theme of women who don't support feminism, is there a term for women who accept/support patriarchy similar to an Uncle Tom? Yes, there are several. Also, if you don't know what an Uncle Tom is, the broad concept is an enslaved black person who actually assisted the white man to continue carrying out slavery. That's an imprecise definition, but you can Google it. But yes, there are several terms for women who assist and hold up the power structure that oppresses them and other women. So you might have heard of pick-me's or PMABs, which stands for pick-me-ass bitch, and you might also have recently heard the term crumb maidens. So let's start with the pick-me. The idea of a pick-me is a woman who chimes into feminist arguments about men's maltreatment of women to basically say not all men, and to also signal virtues that would result in her being seen as desirable by men. So the pick-me supports men. She would treat her man right. She would forgive him for cheating because men need variety and they're really sexually motivated. She does believe his ex is crazy. She always gets waxed and manicured before a date. She's happy to serve. She's delighted to forgive men for all of their bad behavior. She's really special compared to other women. So the pick-me is begging to be noticed by a man and to be picked. She considers men's attention to be a scarce and valuable resource that she has to compete for. She's basically like, pick me, pick me. I'm not like one of those nasty, ugly, man-hating lesbian feminists. And you know, the grand irony in all this effort is that men's attention is not a scarce resource and it has no value unless that man is an amazing feminist man. Crumb maidens are way worse. So the term crumb maiden was coined by the journalist Amy Remakis. Crumb maidens are like handmaidens to misogyny, who put a lot of their labour and energy into supporting the patriarchy as a system and individual conservative powerful men on the off chance that this will gain them some power and influence themselves, but all they ever get is crumbs. Crumbs of power, crumbs of recognition, crumbs of attention, crumbs of money. Crumb maidens. A great example of crumb maidens are some of the women in Australia's conservative right-wing political parties. Yes, there are several of those. These women will help to make policy that actually oppresses women, but then the party will just cast them out once they've served their usefulness, like Julie Bishop. By the way, crumb maidens are usually wealthy white women because they are already only 1 degree away from the ultimate level of privilege. But that 1 degree is enormous, considering it is only the size of the humble uterus. A crumb maiden's uterus is big enough to block the door to the rooms of the highest and most lasting power, and it is enough to stop her getting in, ever. Crumb maidens never get to feast on the spoils of their hard work simping for patriarchy. They will only ever get scraps. They will never be invited into the boys' club. Oh, they might think they're in the boys' club and men might act like they are, but men secretly know their membership is an illusion and it is conditional entirely on these women continuing to behave the way patriarchy wants them to. And when they get older and saggier and craggier and less deferential and less malleable and less accepting and forgiving of men's bad behavior and betrayal, they become harder to control and influence, and they start to demand their dues from men, and they are just cast aside with nothing to show for everything they put in. There's no like long service leave or employee bonus gold watch for women who spend their lives serving misogynistic men and upholding patriarchal structures. There's nothing. What is the most effective thing we can do individually for feminism right here, right now, today? I'll give you 2 things. Number 1, make a point of thinking well of other women. So make it your default stance to believe, credit, and give the benefit of the doubt to other women. And while you're at it, fold gender diverse people in under that banner as well. And number 2, resist, defy, and resist. Every time you notice yourself engaging in or being pushed around by a misogynistic rule or expectation or structure, develop a reflex for defying and resisting. So defying and resisting patriarchy can look like congratulating a woman on getting a divorce, not taking your husband's surname if you get married, removing one step from your beauty routine today and reclaiming that time for things that you really value. Not being ashamed for liking girly things or engaging in girly media. Refusing to do the dishes at the family barbecue and remaining glued to your seat until the men are forced to get up and do it. Continuing to speak through a man interrupting you. And demanding an orgasm if he's going to have one too. Misogyny presents itself every day, and every day is a new opportunity to resist it and defy it. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for being here and for asking questions. You guys always ask such smart questions. I'm just dropping my donation link on this page because, women should be paid for their labor. And, if you feel like this has benefited you in some way, clarified answers in your life, helped you to make changes that have benefited you, then, consider dropping a little donation to say thank you. Also, if you didn't get your question answered, all is not lost. Just ask again next week. I will try to notice if I get repeat questions, and then I will know that that's something that you really, really want answered. So it's not like if you don't get your question answered this week, then don't ever ask again. I will be back on Tuesday, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So have a think about what you might want to ask on Tuesday. Okay, love you, bye.